Good afternoon, students. Today we are looking at traditional political system as one of the topics in government. Under the traditional political system, our case study will be the Akan traditional political system. Under the Akan traditional political system, we will first consider the features of the Akan traditional political system. In other words, if you enter any chief's palace in an Akan area, like the Ashantis, which people matter the most? Those who matter the most forms the features of the traditional political system. So among the Akan traditional political system, we have the Paramount chief as one of the features. Then we also have the Queen Mother. We have the Council of Elders. We have the Adasah company. The linguist. So we will consider these 5 features of the Akan traditional political system. Now, in every kingdom or chiefdom, there is a paramount chief. The paramount chief is the head of the kingdom. He is the chief executive. He is responsible for the day-to-day administration of his kingdom. Under the Akan traditional political system, when the seat of a paramount chief becomes vacant, it is the responsibility of the Queen Mother to name or nominate someone to fill in the gap. So the position of the Queen Mother is also very important in the Akan traditional political system. Apart from that, the Queen Mother also is the mother of the community. And as the mother of the community, she is responsible for all women activities. An example is that when a young girl, in the olden days, when a young girl comes of age, the girl will inform the mother that, "Mommy, I have come of age. I've experienced my first menstrual cycle." Then the mother, in a jubilant mood, will sing and dance and march to the palace of the Queen Mother and inform the Queen Mother about the good news. The Queen Mother will invite the girl to examine her whether truly what the mother told her is true. If after examining her there's no problem, like the girl is not pregnant, the Queen Mother will make the necessary arrangements to organize the bragro for the girl. So that is one of the women activities that the Queen Mother undertakes. Then when the Queen Mother nominates someone for the position of a paramount chief, that is not the end. The person appears before a certain council known as the Council of Elders or the Kingmakers, for them to vet the person, for them to do a background check on the person, whether truly the person fits to become the paramount chief. So the Council of Elders will schedule a day where the nominee will appear before them. Then they will ask questions about his background, test his boldness level, make sure that he is really fit, brave enough to lead his people. So if they ascertain all this, then the necessary rites are performed for the person to be a paramount chief. Then in the olden days, they used to embark on several wars of expansion, tribal wars, etc. And it was the Asafu company that aided the paramount chief and every kingdom in fighting battles. So the Asafu company also features in the Akan traditional political system. Then we have the linguists. The chief spokesperson of the paramount chief. The position of the linguist is not hereditary, unlike the others. For someone to qualify as a linguist, that person should be very fluent in the local dialects. Apart from that, he should also be knowledgeable in the customs and the traditions of his people. Then there's another group of people who matter in the kingdom. Without them, there's no kingdom. They are the common people, the commoners. The commoners also have a king. They normally meet under a big tree to discuss issues concerning their kingdom. And the leader of the commoners is the Nkwankwahene. They normally meet under a big tree, and they call the tree Nkwankwaniase, where they discuss issues concerning their kingdom. So these are the features of the Akan traditional political system. A very simple question to get under this topic is highlight 5 features of the Akan traditional political system. Now we are moving on to the functions of the paramount chief during the pre-colonial era. The pre-colonial era is the era before colonization. You can also say the era before 1900 or 1901. That is where officially the Akans or the Ashantis came under the British colonial administration. So before the colonial rule, what were the functions of the paramount chief? How was the paramount chief maintaining his domain before colonial rule? The paramount chief performed several functions. Among the functions he performed were he performed legislative functions, executive functions, judicial functions, he performed military functions, religious functions, he performed also trusteeship function. Then he was the fount of honor. Also, he was the embodiment of the customs and traditions of his people. These were the main functions of the paramount chief during the pre-colonial era. Now, as a legislative function, the paramount chief was a legislator. He made laws to govern his people. He made laws together with his council of elders and the Queen Mother. And the laws that were made by the paramount chief were supposed to be in the best interest of his people. The laws were supposed to help the paramount chief and his people to maintain law and order in the kingdom. Apart from legislative functions, the paramount chief also performed executive functions. With executive function, it's just like the president today. The president is the chief executive of the country, the number one citizen of the country. So the paramount chief in the colonial era was the number one citizen in his kingdom. As a chief executive responsible for day-to-day administration of his kingdom, he also appointed able people to assist him in his administration. Now we have judicial functions too. The palace of the paramount chief was converted to a court, a native court, where issues were settled. Issues ranging from family or marriage problems, divorce issues, land litigations, etc. From civil cases, criminal cases were all settled by the paramount chief, aided by his council of elders and sometimes the Queen Mother. In fact, the Queen Mother specialized in divorce cases. The paramount chief allowed the Queen Mother to settle divorce cases. Now, a day or two within a week was set aside for cases to be settled. And there was democracy in display among the Akan traditional political system, because when it comes to settlement of disputes, there was open arbitration. It wasn't like the paramount chief was sit in his palace and pass judgments just like that. No, the paramount chief, together with the council of elders and the Queen Mother, will listen to witnesses, all witnesses, before they finally pass or come out with their judgment. So the palace of the paramount chief was considered as the highest court of appeal in the kingdom. Then we have military functions. Military functions. The paramount chief was seen as a warrior king. Among the accounts, they say Osahene, a warrior king. One of the qualifications for installment as a chief among the accounts is someone who is brave. Because in the olden days, pre-colonial days, they used to embark on wars of expansion, tribal wars. And you needed a paramount chief who was bold, confident, someone brave enough to carry his people to such wars. So, as the warrior king, he led his people to war. He was ably assisted by lieutenants. To his right, he appointed the chief for the left for the left wing, the Akans call him the Benkum Hene. Then the chief for the right wing is the Nifahene. So if at any point in time the fight or the war becomes very difficult for them, then the chief will call for reinforcements. And so he also had a chief who was supposed to come with another troop. That chief is the Chidomhene. The Chidomhene. So they all assisted the paramount chief in fighting his battles, wars of expansion, tribal wars, etc. Then the paramount chief also performed religious functions. Religious functions. He was seen as the religious leader of his people. He was seen as the link between his people, his subjects, and the ancestral spirits. The link between his subjects and the gods. And as the spiritual leader of his people, he poured libation on behalf of his people. He made sacrifices to the gods and the ancestral spirits on behalf of his people. When it is harvest season, planting and harvest season, he will pour libation to the gods and the ancestral spirits to ask them for bumper harvest for his people. He will ask for prosperity. He will ask for peace. When there is any calamity, a calamity can befall a kingdom, like what we are experiencing today in the world. There is a pandemic. In the olden days, when such a situation occurs, the paramount chief will consult the gods through the chief priest. They will ask the gods why there is calamity in the land. Why is it that our young men are dying? Why is it that there is drought on our land? Why is it that we are not experiencing rainfall? All these are questions they pose to the gods, and the gods always had a way of answering them. The gods may demand for sacrifices. The sacrifices can be animal sacrifices, it can be food. At worst, it can be human sacrifice. But whatever sacrifice they demand, the paramount chief will have to perform the sacrifices on behalf of his people. So that was the religious role he played in his kingdom. Then he also performed trusteeship function. Trusteeship function. As the trustee of the kingdom, all the stew regalia and stew properties, including stew lands, were put in his trust. He was supposed to take care of them, good care of them, and hand them over to the next generation, just like it was handed over to him. If he makes a mistake and lose any of the items or the regalia, he could be destroyed. And so if you go to a chief's palace, the stew, the language staff, and all the things you see, including the ornaments that is worn by the chief, they are all stew regalia. They are not the personal belongings of the paramount chief. He is supposed to keep them and hand them over to the next generation. So that is the trusteeship role played by the paramount chief. The paramount chief was also a fount of honor. As a fount of honor, he was supposed to or responsible for honoring deserving subjects. Subjects who contribute to the development of the kingdom. He honors such subjects. And the honor or the honoring could be in a form of land. He could allocate a piece of land to someone. It could be a piece of gold. You could give a piece of gold to as an honor to a subject. It could also be a title. Some people prefer titles to lands or any resource, natural resource or mineral resource. A very good example is that the current Otumfuo honored the late UN Secretary General Kofi Annan with a title, and the title was Busumuru. He was honored for raising the flag of Ghana high. Then again, the Paramount Chief was the embodiment of culture. He was the embodiment of culture. As the embodiment of culture, he was supposed to represent his people. He was supposed to be the totality of the customs and traditions of his people. So immediately you see a Paramount Chief, his appearance should inform you of where he is coming from. It should inform you of where or the people he's leading. And so if no one in the Akan or the Ashanti Kingdom will wear a cloth, put on chow chow, Otumfuo alone cannot say he wouldn't wear chow chow and put on cloth, because that is what he is supposed to portray to the outside world. Culture. As the embodiment of culture, it is supposed to be seen in even the way he speaks. And so if he invites people, foreign dignitaries, to his palace as a traditional leader performing his traditional functions, he is not supposed to address his people or the guests with English language. He is supposed to speak the local dialect for them to know that this is truly the culture of the people. If he is supposed to dine with them, the dishes he is supposed to provide should be local dishes. No foreign or continental food, only local dishes, because he is the embodiment of the culture and the customs of his people. This will bring to an end our lesson for today. A very good examinable question to drop under this topic is highlight five functions of the Paramount Chief during the pre-colonial era. Thank you. We will meet again.